Hi guys, Dr. Rob Barrington here with some more nutrition advice. In the Northern Hemisphere, the United Kingdom, we're getting towards winter, and that means the cold season. So I'd like to discuss today just a few things that you can do to reduce the risk of you developing a cold this season. The first thing that you really need to do, and this is the most obvious thing, is you need to avoid people who already have a cold. That's difficult at work. If people at work have already developed a cold, you have to be around them. It's very difficult to avoid them. But generally, if you can avoid people, when your friends have a cold, try not to go out with them. Try to stay away from them until they've got rid of their cold. At work, if you're exposed to people with a cold, make sure you wash your hands frequently. Make sure you wash your face frequently, as the way germs may be transferred between people are through door handles, for example, on pens, on computer keyboards. So make sure that you frequently wash your hands and face to remove any germs that may be there. Try not to touch your face if you can. Try not to rub your eyes. Try not to rub your nose, as that's a good way of transferring germs between people. So that's the most obvious. It's non-nutritional. The avoidance technique really is the best thing that you can do to try and reduce your risk of getting a cold. What can we do nutritionally? Well, I've tried many things over the years to try and reduce the risk of getting a cold, and the one thing that I have found that definitely does work is making sure that you have optimal levels of vitamin D. The reason we don't get colds in the summer is likely because of the sun. The sun gives us optimal levels of vitamin D. Vitamin D is required for a correct immune function. It produces proteins that punch holes in pathogens such as viruses, and therefore optimal levels of vitamin D are known to be required for the correct defense against the common cold. Obviously, as it gets towards winter, the sun becomes weaker. It's no longer strong enough to produce vitamin D in our skin, and therefore most people in the winter, if they're not supplementing with vitamin D tablets, they become vitamin D insufficient, and that increases their risk of developing a common cold. So taking a vitamin D supplement is a very good idea. Avoiding people with a cold is an even better idea. Other things that you can do. Well, yes, there are other things you can do. You have to make sure you have a high quality diet, because that will provide you with an optimal immune system. You need your immune system to be functioning, and that means you need to provide your body with all the nutrients it requires, and that means you constantly need to eat a high quality diet. If you go through a period of eating poorly and your diet suffers, you will find your immune system also suffers, and that will increase your risk of developing a common cold. So you need to eat a high quality diet. What else can you do? Well, you need to make sure you get enough sleep and that you don't become too stressed. Any type of stress, be it sleep deprivation, be it intense exercise, be it stress at work, be it family stress, will suppress your immune system. And when your immune system is suppressed, you have a higher risk of developing common cold. So we've got three things so far. Avoid people with a cold, take your vitamin D supplements, and avoid stress. Now, what can you do if you actually get a cold? You can usually tell when you're starting to develop a cold. You feel a little bit different. Maybe you start to get a little bit of a tickly cough. That is the time you need to act quickly. If you're not already taking a vitamin D supplement, that is the time to start taking high doses of vitamin D. I personally take up to about 5,000 IU if I feel that I'm getting a cold. That seems to reduce the length of time that the cold actually takes hold of your system, and it can reduce the severity of the symptoms as well, I've found. Another thing you can do is take high amounts of vitamin C. Vitamin C has been shown in some studies to benefit those people who have developed a cold and reduced the length of time that the cold is in their system, and also reduce the symptoms. And the other thing to do is, if you are stressed and you aren't getting enough sleep, make sure you correct that as soon as you develop a cold, because that will help you recover. You need to boost your immune system. Obviously, we'd like to have an immune system that's working to its full capacity at all times. But if we develop a cold because for some reason we've been stressed or we've not been sleeping enough, that's the time to act quickly. Make sure you catch up on your sleep. Make sure you remove the stress from your life. Now, if you're an athlete, you like to go out to the gym or you go running and you feel like you're getting a cold, I would suggest that you avoid all physical activity. Physical activity is a stress to the body. It causes a depression in the immune system. The more intense the exercise and the more frequent and the more and the longer the duration of the exercise, the more it will suppress the immune system. If you feel that you're getting a cold, it's a good idea not to go to the gym. Stay at home, keep warm, and make sure you have optimal nutrition. Look after yourself, get a lot of sleep. Now, if you are an athlete and the cold season comes round, it's very easy to pick up colds because you're constantly depressing your immune system every time you train. So it might be a good idea, if you know that people around you have got a cold, that you actually delay your training or try and avoid those people while you are training, because 24 hours, 48 hours after you've trained, if you train intensely, you are at much higher risk of developing a cold than if you hadn't trained, because you get this depression in the immune system. Another thing that you could try if you're an athlete to avoid developing a cold is to take whey protein. Whey protein does stimulate the immune system. It does have immune-enhancing effects. So if you want to substitute some of the protein you're taking at the moment for a whey protein, you will find that that will actually benefit your immune system. So there's a number of things you can do to avoid a cold, and there's a number of things you can do to reduce the severity of a cold and the length of time that cold can take hold, and they are very easy to implement. The main thing you really need to do is avoid people who have a cold, and make sure you don't have too much stress in your life around the cold season, and make sure you're getting enough sleep. If you're not taking a vitamin D supplement, you should be anyway. For an adult, around 2000 IU per day during the winter will stop you, or should stop you, getting a vitamin D insufficiency. Now, one last thing to say about colds is the fact that there is a certain amount of luck in whether you get one or not. Some seasons you will go, even with the optimal nutrition, even if you take care of your training and you get the most amount of sleep you can, there is a certain amount of luck. Some seasons you will develop a cold, some seasons you may not. What I'm talking about here is reducing the risk. You can never stop yourself getting a cold. There will always be life circumstances, unfortunately, that allows you to be exposed to the virus, and therefore allows you to develop the symptoms of a cold. But it's a good idea to maintain optimal nutrition. It's a good idea to make sure you get enough sleep, and it's a good idea to make sure that you reduce the stress in your life so that you can reduce that risk and have as few colds as possible throughout your life.